Hello and welcome back to my channel, The Amateur Reader. This is Josh, and I'm going to be talking today about The Wandering Inn. So first off, The Wandering Inn is I think it's a web novel, I believe. The author, Pirate Abba, nobody really knows who they are. But it's like, I think over 14 million words right now, which if you haven't seen, Daniel Green has done a post about how massive that series is. If anybody knows the size of Wheel of Time, I think Wheel of Time sits around 3.5 million. So that's what, like 4 times the size of Wheel of Time, and it's growing still. So it's a massive feat, and I give lots of props to the author for just churning out content. And this has only been coming out since 2017, so they're putting out an insane amount of content for everybody to read and or listen to, which is what I did. I listened to the audiobook, which was sitting at 48 hours for the first one, and I was very interested in going into it because I started my lit RPG journey with He Who Fights with Monsters, and I fell in love with that series, and I listened to most of it. And I heard some conflicting opinions about The Wandering Inn. It has a big cult following. I don't know if you could call it even a cult following right now, but it has a big following. And the first I heard of it was from Daniel Green's video, and I listened to that one quite a while ago, and the only thing I remember about it going into listening to this book was that the first 15 chapters he was not a fan of. And so I was like, okay, well, if I can get through that, and then I'm sure it'll get better and better. And what I'll say is the first 15 chapters I really enjoyed. It was slow, but it was appropriate for the setting, I believe. So the setting, The Wandering Inn, you are following one of the main protagonists is Erin Solstice. She wakes up in this world, I believe in like a meadow or something. Everything is different. The grass color is different. Everything that she sees out there, like the mountains just seem massive, and just everything is more grand and more whimsical, and she's very confused what's going on. And quickly we find that there's creatures that aren't ever seen on Earth, and she pieces it together that she is not on Earth anymore. She finds this inn, this very dilapidated inn, run down, covered in dust, and she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't have any survival skills, so she kind of takes it upon herself to make this her home for the time being. And so she cleans it up and uses it as shelter. And the first 15 chapters is kind of just about her figuring out the first steps of survival. Like she's trying to figure out a food source and trying to figure out what's the local threats. And when she goes to sleep the first night, there's this message that pops up in her head that announces that she's gained a level. So that's kind of the lit RPG aspects of the book, is people gain levels for the various professions that they have. It's an interesting way that she or Pirate Abba handled it, because you don't just gain levels for anything and everything you do. You only gain levels for the things that you're have a drive and passion for. So like if you're cooking but you don't like it, you're not gonna gain any levels. But if it's like your lifeblood, like you want to be a chef, you will gain levels towards that and skills towards it. So it's an interesting concept, and she gains levels towards being an innkeeper, and it's a very interesting take. I mean, I don't feel like there's a lot of fantasy worlds that you're following the innkeeper. It's usually like the adventurer, and So it was pretty interesting, and it was a little bit of slow burn, but the first 15 chapters, I would say up until chapter 20, I really, really enjoyed. Um, it was her figuring everything out, kind of getting the lay of the land, encountering some monsters, and just how she was handling it. And I want to say the narrator, what Andrea P or something like that. She has phenomenal narrator's voice. A lot of her characters, I really good. The only two characters that I didn't really care about were the two main characters, Erin Solstice, which wasn't a bad voice. It just kind of seemed like stereotypical, like meek anime girl or something. But it was okay. That didn't bug me too much. It was just my least favorite one for a while until we get introduced to the second main character, Ryoka Griffin. And there's not much to like about this character. And I believe that's the intention. She's very standoffish, just kind of going against the system. And okay, fair enough, you know. I think there's some messages being said about that, like not being a part of uh, the class or caste system of how levels are done and how that where it puts you in society. And okay, I get the message that's trying to be said, but well, I'll get back to her in a little bit. So Erin, she starts bringing back to life, and she has these various creatures. Like the creatures she first encounters in this world aren't human. They're reptiles, ants, goblins, and it's about her creating an environment where anybody is welcome, including goblins. Spoiler ahead, like I feel like this is going to be a spoiler-filled review. I'll try not to give away too many big things, but what I have to say, what I really like about the book is I think the side characters are amazing. The narration is awesome. The scope of the story seems like it could be large. What happened in most of the book one was kind of contained pretty small until like the last, I don't know, 25% of the book. Then it just, everything went to crazy. But I had a lot of problems with this book. A lot of times where I was just like, why am I forcing myself to listen to this? And I felt like I would give it a fair shot. And there was many times where I was just telling myself like, man, this is actually just like a web novel, and like maybe I shouldn't hold it up to the standards of like a fully published novel. But I mean, it's on Audible, and I did get it through the free perks of the Audible membership. But yeah, so what I didn't like about the book. So some of the things I wasn't the biggest fan of. I felt like the tone of the book was really jarring, if I don't know if that makes sense. I was going into it like the blurb on the front says like a slice of life, which I haven't watched or listened or read many slice of life type things, so I don't really know the range of what that encompasses. But I was, based off the first bit, like it was very like PG-13, very kind of clean until we came to her first big, I would say, enemy, which was the Goblin Chieftain. And that was pretty grotesque, what happened. And not that I can't handle that, I just thought it was very a different, kind of out of left field for what the book was kind of setting up in the beginning. But okay, that's fine. I mean, bad things happen to good people, and it was, I think the way that it was portrayed was to show how traumatizing it can be. Um, and while it was very grotesque, I guess I can understand. But it kept happening where it would be like really like cutesy scenes, and then all of a sudden just like crazy stuff happens and very vivid imagery, which is like, it's like a pro and a con for me. The con was like, I felt like the tone of the story was not very consistent, but at the same time, I think that was Pirate Abba's really strong suits, is the imagery when battles or monsters are described is very vivid. Outside of it, things aren't very imaginative. Like, there's just plain goblins and plain skeletons, and everything is just kind of simple names to everything. I don't want to give too much away. I guess this part will be a spoiler if anybody wants to skip ahead. But the big bad in the end is this guy whose name is Skinner, and his thing is that he takes the skin of anything or anybody that he touches. Kind of unimaginative name, but the concept of this monster and the description of how everything that happened around him was very, very well done. So, take half a point off, but give a full point for how they handled the descriptive nature of monsters and whatnot. So, with that being said, this was a really long audiobook, and if that's all that was, I think that'd be fine. I'd probably go through book 2, but the big problem I had was half the story revolved around this character, Ryoka Griffin, which I kind of mentioned earlier. She is, you come to find, another person from Earth that wakes up in this world, and she's trying to figure stuff out. She is, I guess, like a track athlete in Earth, and she kind of takes on this job of being like they call it a city runner, where they bring packages or messages or whatever needs to be brought to a certain location at a very fast time. And so that was interesting. That was cool. I like running. So I thought that was interesting. There was a kind of like a running profession being portrayed in a story. The problem I have with this character is she's standoffish, but over the top, so unbearable. Just everything, everybody, no matter how rude or nice somebody is to her, she's just tenfold mean back to them. And that one, while that's frustrating in some sense, she's also extremely talented at everything she touches, and she doesn't want to level. Like, she will refuse the leveling feature of this whole world, which I don't really understand how that's possible. You don't really encounter anybody else declining levels, like it just happens to them, but fair enough. So she declines levels, doesn't have the access to the benefits of skills or anything like that makes people extremely powerful. But for some reason, she is stronger and more talented in every aspect she encounters people with. Like, she is the fastest runner, and she can run faster than people using skills while also traveling crazy distances. Like, that would be like a very small portion of people on Earth can do. They talk about traveling like 60 to 100 mile distances, like ultra marathons, distances, which people can do, but these people, they're doing at like, in real life, do at like a walking slow jog pace with breaks in between. So when they're describing this character just doing it non-stop, it is just like hard to believe, and just like hard to really relate to this character. And enjoy them at all. Um, there there was a moment in her storyline where she had a very bad injury to brought upon her, and it was basically irreparable, and she was not going to be able to do the thing that she loves, which is running. And so it was like a big moment for her that was kind of like it brought her to her rock bottom. And we get introduced to an opportunity for her to fix this problem. It's fixed. Like a lot of the people that are around her be like, okay, we kind of like her. Let's band together and try and get her fixed. So a lot of people pull some strings and invest a lot of effort into fixing Ryoka, which they're successful. It's this miraculous thing, and she is like so big moment for her, big like change for her. Like, why was I ever so mad at people? Like, these people were nice. Like, why was I so angry? Why was, and it's like I basically a kind of come to life moment and be like, I love life and like I need to do better moving forward. Essentially, it was like the next chapter or two. It was just like went back to being cranky, and it's like maybe later books that changes, but it was just like it was just frustrating. There was like that was the one big moment where it was kind of like a big change could happen and it didn't. But there was other little moments throughout the story that similar moments like that happened, where some big bad thing happened to her, and this friend that's like, yeah, she's annoying, but I kind of like how she is, would like stand up for her or um, protect her or something, and she was just rude to them. And it's just like, I don't see why anybody was nice to her in the first place or cared about her well-being. Um, yeah, and so it was just frustrating to listen to this character. It made me want to skip past a lot of it. There's many parts where I was just like, I don't really talk to myself, but I was like talking to myself, being like, this is so stupid. Like, why am I listening to this? But it is what it is. And I think mainly because of her, I don't really want to listen to the second book. I'd probably give this book like a 2.5 or 3 star. Maybe down the road, if I'm desperate and I need a long series to listen to, I will. But yeah, her character was not enjoyable in the slightest. And I'll even like go into further detail about like some of the craziness about her stories. Like she runs like crazy amount of miles. Okay, whatever. We can suspend our disbelief quite a bit. But then after she been awake for like, I think it was like 3 days, and ran, I think 60 miles and then like another 60 miles or something absurd. I think I counted it up. It was like over 100. And then I was just like, okay, I'm just going to stop counting. So after she's been awake multiple days, exhausted, running away from people, running crazy fast. And then she goes into this like Adventurers Guild and starts causing fights that she's winning against like renowned people that are like, oh, you're gonna get creamed. And then she just, because she has like a little background of jujitsu or Muay Thai, whatever it is, and it's just like, it's just so hard to believe her character. It's like, feels like they want this character Ryoka to be this badass independent female character that's like not like the happy-go-lucky, and that's fine, but it just, I feel like it just didn't come off very well. But maybe somebody else can make a point about it that I didn't see, or maybe in the future books it gets a lot better. But I just don't think it's for me. It has an amazing following, and I give props to the author for how much content they're pumping out, and a lot of it is for free, and that's just amazing for people that don't necessarily have the funds to afford a series like this. But yeah, I think that's all that I have to say. And then I have also been listening to a series, The Red Rising. I just finished book 1, and I am about halfway through book 2, and I will be posting a video on that hopefully pretty soon. But thank you for listening, and you guys have an awesome day. Take care. Bye.